Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. He did this by just making one change. Chuck says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/inspired or by clicking on a link below this video. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/inspired or click on a link in the description below to watch the video now. If the legendary Chuck Norris can do this at 81 years old, so can you. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. chuckdefense.com/inspired.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Thursday, July 11th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. Thank you for joining us on X, on Rumble, and on YouTube. Thank you for joining us in the live chat. Charlotte, thank you so much for your contribution already. Really, really appreciate it. I see Dagda, Jerome, I see, of course, Christine as Inspired, the Wise Thumbs, Mr. Underhill, Andrea, Steven, Love Buzz, good to see you, Reese, Alhart Medicine, Tom, David, Freedom Rings, J Frog, aka Jim, Sean Lindsay, good to see you, Lori, oh my goodness, Chris is here too. Thank you so much again. Before we dive into today's subjects, which I think is it's incredibly important. I think to think about these things in a new way, to look at them differently. And I think some of the things we're going to share might be a little bit mind-blowing, might be a little bit crazy, but this is where we are. And I think it's highly important. There is an upcoming event. There is a turning of the page, a new chapter. It has to happen. We'll explain why. But we will leave all fear. We'll check fear at the door right now. So we won't even entertain fearful thoughts here, because this is not about fear porn. It's not about fear mongering. This is about how we can thrive through what's coming. Before we do that, I want to invite our wonderful supporters on Locals. We are interviewing Dick Algier of the Future Forecasters this afternoon. So if you go to inspired.locals.com for all supporters, after this live stream, you can ask questions, and we will make sure to ask as many questions as possible and ask Dick to give us his answers to your questions. If you go to inspired.locals.com, just ask. We have a post up there, and you can ask your questions in the comments. All right, my friends, let's dive into today's topic. How can we protect ourselves against certain future events, possibly right around the corner? And will this new future event be an inside job? And what does that even mean? In the past, we've thought of inside jobs as stuff that's being perpetrated under a false flag. So a lot of people have said that 9/11 was an inside job, meaning that the U.S. government has officially declared that it was perpetrated, 9/11 was perpetrated by outside forces. And a lot of people have been saying, no, the government was involved, and that's what they called an inside job, okay? Today, we're going to look at this in a vastly different way. Past events we have perceived, and when I say events, I mean financial crises, I mean huge weather events, earthquakes, terrorist attacks, and all kinds of external, or, least 2020, and I just call it 2020 because everything else will get me in trouble. But these events we kind of looked at as outside events that have affected us in one way, shape, or another, sometimes in a very, very strong way, like 2020. What I'm talking about here today is, and I'll do a full disclosure here. a lot of what I'm going to say today is going to be intuitively driven. So it's just what I have perceived and intuitively received. I don't have facts for everything. But I think this next big event is mainly aimed at changing something inside of us, infusing thought structures into our minds, projecting things onto us, and potentially changing us structurally, maybe quite significantly. I've had similar thoughts for many weeks and months now, and I've talked about it on and off. But of course, my recent studying of the future forecasters, the remote viewers, it's interesting that they described this, and we're going to go deeper into this with Dick Algar today. They described something like this. But as I've said before, the infrastructure has been created, a technological infrastructure that includes a lot of, if not to a certain extent, almost all human bodies. I don't know. But we are learning more and more how we have already been connected in some ways. And of course, how others have been much, much more connected and technologized, if you will, in the last few years. So to play this out simply for you, what I intuitively sense might happen is that we're going to have a big mass attention event. There aren't so many things that would catch almost everyone's attention in the world at pretty much the same time. There's very few things that can make that happen. I think we're going to have one of those mass attention events. So basically, our eyes, our ears, our perception will be glued to the event, whether because we're seeing it live or because we're seeing it through our screens, but we will somehow see it. And it will appear as if this is the main event, what we see. What I intuitively think will happen simultaneously, and because our adrenaline will be up, because our heart rate will be up, because we will feel like we're in an extraordinary emotional state, because that's what you do when you see something that's maybe shocking or unbelievable. Just remember how you felt when you saw the events of 9/11 unfold on TV, or maybe you were even there. Remember how you felt. It was completely it was a traumatic experience, really, but your body was in a state of high adrenaline, hyper awareness. Okay, so imagine a state like this, but maybe even stronger. That's what's going to happen physiologically. Simultaneously, what I believe will happen is we will receive, or they will try to send to us or activate within us a change that if we didn't have this distraction event here, we would sense it better or easier. We would sense this sudden change that's happening and we would go, what the hell's going on? But because we're already out of sorts because of this event here, we don't notice what is happening. I can't tell you exactly what all this is supposed to do inside of us, but it is in sync and in line with the goals as to where we're supposed to be led. Now, in my perception, such a mass event like this wasn't fully in the plans. It was sort of like, if everything else fails, then we're going to roll out something like this. This is what it feels like to me. I think that the main issue is, like we've said before, these forces are cornered, they're weakened, they're losing ground every day, they're losing people every day, they're losing awareness and perception every day. So they're also losing energy. So that's when a cornered animal starts to become, starts lashing out, becoming very irrational. Now, such an event, I would assume, would wire us or rewire us in a way so that we are with the program, so that we are following the program again. so that we can be much easier guided and have less or no resistance or rebellion anymore. I would assume that such a thing, including maybe a upgrade that would allow us to sustain higher EMF and that would allow our bodies to adapt to this incredibly dense electromagnetic environment easier. I think that is part of this. What could happen? Again, I'm speaking more or less very intuitively here. So this is, yes, I have certain facts that I base some of this on, but mostly it's intuitively driven. So that I want to say that I'm not saying I know this is going to happen. I just feel it. So we're going to have effects to varying degrees. The idea is that some of us stay completely unaffected. That's the ideal situation and scenario. And I think there is a protocol that we can follow and things that we can do that help us to maintain as unaffected as possible. And I'll get into that. We have a whole protocol. There will be the zombie-like matrix-driven mass of people that, of course, will have almost no resistance to this, not even awareness for this. It'll just happen to them. And that's to be expected. Then we have a semi-awakened, semi-conscious group of people that that are oftentimes too skeptical to even consider such things to be possible. And because they're so skeptical, they're not open to information that could help them. They're 50-50. Some of them could be very much affected, some of them less. They could maybe in a sudden moment trust their intuition enough. Then there is the strongly awakening, and that's where I count all of us into this group. We are all awakening. Nobody is fully awakened. And I think we, as a group, have the highest chance and potential to remain intact in terms of uncontrollable, undisturbable, and remain intact as we are. I can't guarantee this by any stretch of the imagination, but this is what intuition tells me. Spirit is incredibly powerful when intention is directed consciously. So I want to go through a protocol with you that we have used in the past very successfully. Granted, I don't think in our lifetime we have seen the technological potential on a mass scale like we see it now. The infrastructure wasn't quite there yet. However, I will go back to my previous statement. Spirit is incredibly powerful and can pretty much override, overcome, transmute anything. So let's look at this protocol here. Something that most or almost all people can do. So I would say most importantly, begin each day with by connecting with prime source energy / creator / God. Okay, so I'm going to stop on some of these points and really explain that it is very important that when you do this in the morning, you go to the source. So a lot of people have programmed images and beliefs about what and who God is. And in most religious streams, God is a limited being because that God is angry, that God is vindictive, that God is punishing. And such a God is, because of these attributes, limited and can't be, in my perception, granted, can't be the creator of all. The creator of all must transcend such limitations. So I'm really encouraging you to connect with the source energy from which everything was created, the highest of highest, to really set this intention. If we set intentions not precisely, not correctly, we might connect with a being that is not benevolent. Okay, so this is really important. Connect with the highest of all each morning. Practice conscious breath work. Really important. Breath is our direct physical connection to divinity. Okay, so conscious breath work, and you can go and do breathing techniques with Wim Hof. There's others, but Wim Hof's really good. Conscious breath work to center yourself, ground your body, right? Very, very important, which is in sync with prayer and meditation. So I love morning prayer that for me is most effective is gratitude prayer. I give thanks. Um, I find a lot of things to be thankful for, but I give thanks for perfect guidance and intuition and such things. So I would encourage you to do this in your way, in your form. Set the intention and give gratitude for receiving highest guidance and intuition. So this is mine. I give gratitude to receive intuition guidance from the highest possible source. So the source of all. Imagine yourself, your immediate loved ones. This is something that we've practiced for many, many years since our kids were little. Imagine yourself, your immediate loved ones, with permission. I'm going to get to that. And your home in a blue energy bubble. Only what is for your highest good and the highest good of all comes through. So when our kids, thank you, Charlotte, the other Charlotte, really appreciate it. So when our kids were little, we started this when they would leave the house without us. You know, they would either go to a relative's house or to a friend's house or whatever. So we would bubble them up. So what we call them, we would bubble them up in a blue bubble, and only the highest good comes through. This was our intention, right? And it's really worked beautifully. And this is something that you can do every day with yourself. You can bubble yourself up. You can imagine this. We have this. We have an aura, right? I mean, humans have an aura. So it's really taking control of that field. It's not woo woo. It's not, really what I'm saying here. All of these things are really practical, logical, and quite normal things. They're only woo woo if you don't know that we possess all these things. So we have an aura. We can protect ourselves. We can create a shield. Why would we let negative or bad stuff through if we can program that shield to only let the highest good through us or through to us? When it comes to your children, you have, of course, every right to do this. When it comes to adult loved ones, I do not believe that we have the right to interfere with their journey unless they give us permission to bubble them up, for example. People say this very respectfully. May I pray for you? It's sort of the same thing. I think we all have integrity. We all have dignity, and that dignity requires that we don't override others' choices. We don't have the right to do it. So we don't have the right to do what we think is best for them without their permission. Okay? This is very important. Or we take their dignity. So if you want your loved ones to be in such a bubble, I would have a conversation with them. I would maybe point them to a little more research into what is an aura and how can you protect yourself energetically, and then get their permission to help them with that if that's what you know how to do. Okie doke. Let's move forward here. Drink clean water. Find the best source possible and bless the water. So these are three very, very important things. First, of course, find the best source that you can find. Do not, sort of give up if you can't find perfection. Do what you can with what you have where you are. It's really important. This motto, keep it in mind. So if you can't find the cleanest spring water from a Colorado spring or a Montana spring, okay, so you can't, good. So find the next best thing or the next best thing, right? And then make sure that you really stick to drinking water mostly. All of the other stuff, the juice is usually highly, sugared, and the sodas, of course, forget that. We haven't touched alcohol in decades now, 2 decades almost. So find the best source, bless the water. How do you do that? Really simple. Again, we have to understand we're an energetic being. So when we hold our hands above our water and we intend to restructure the water for our highest good, we can do that with our intention. We can do that. We can write a piece And we can write on a piece of paper our highest intention. May this water nourish us. May it be structured in the original ways. We can find these instructions for the water. Thank you so much. Jacko, is it Jacko? Yeah, thank you so much. We can find these we can write down these instructions. You can take a pitcher of water and you set it on that piece of paper with the instructions. You let it sit there for a few hours. The water will be infused with the information from that piece of paper. Intention is everything in this. Water is one of the substances on earth that can be programmed the most, and our tap water is programmed. It's just programmed negatively, and we can change all that. So find the cleanest possible water, bless it with the highest intentions, and then drink it with gratitude, and it will be not just a source of nourishment but also of protection. Eat only clean and nutrient-dense foods. It's challenging but possible. Avoid processed or any outside foods if you don't know where it's sourced from. It's really important. Our food supply chain has been so manipulated with in the last few years, especially, and when we used to really have to worry about a lot of sugar or chemicals in the food, preservatives, or stuff like high fructose corn syrup, aspartame, and all these things. Now we have to worry about much more invasive stuff in our food, technological stuff in our food. So I would encourage you to get really local, source your food locally if you don't grow it yourself. Again, go to the farmers markets, talk to the people, ask how they grow their fruits, show interest. I stay away from all processed foods, like anything that comes in a box and has been processed. I'm not interested. We also eat too much, right? Really, I mean, almost all of us eat too much. Nobody really, no adult really needs 3 meals unless you're a hyper athlete, or you're doing something that's so physically demanding that you burn 6,000 calories a day. But other than that, most adults don't need 3 meals. We can cut down easily, which will help with all the rest. It will improve our well-being, our physical well-being, and especially what we put into our bodies. So less is more, and with less is more, it's easier to maintain a certain level of quality. It doesn't have to be super expensive, my friends. We just have to do what we can with what we have, where we are. Start thinking outside of the box. The grocery store isn't the only place to get food from. Of course, if you can grow it yourself, that is the best. We could go into the breatharians, people who, but I want to keep it to something that almost everyone can do right now. Practice awareness in all situations. Check in multiple times a day. So I'll read the next point and then discuss it. Eliminate all unconscious consumption of media, entertainment, music, etc. Become aware of everything that is entering your mind. Everything that is entering your mind, everything you hear, everything you see, and of course, the invisible waves, but everything that you consume in one way, shape, or form has an effect on you, especially if you do it unconsciously. Nothing is worse than just letting the TV run in the background. Your subconscious mind absorbs everything, every commercial, every news headline, every breaking news alert, all that crap. Never have that run in the background. Choose your music consciously, friends. Don't just set it on a station and mindlessly listen to it. The words enter your subconscious mind. This is all very important. Today's music is highly sophisticated ways. Trust me, this is my field of expertise. I'm an artist and songwriter. I don't do this, but I know they do it. They use the frequencies, the tools to maximize the impact on the subconscious, and then they overlay the words, the lyrics that are detrimental, harmful, sexist, violent, and whatnot, so that it constantly bombards our minds. Don't do that. Listen to positively structured music. Listen less, by the way, more instrumental, maybe. A lot of classical music does a lot of good things. Pay attention to that. Also with the movies, I'm not saying that you can't watch a current movie if you feel like there might be something important in there, but be conscious, be present, use your hippocampus, use your filtration system in the brain for this information, and catch yourself when you're living in the movie. You're an observer. Stay the observer. Be conscious in all situations. What does that mean? To practice awareness means that 80 to 90% of the time we live from the subconscious. Most of the things that we do, most people, the first hour of their day, most people in the normie world are not even awake. They're barely there. Everything they do is automated, from brushing their teeth to pushing the coffee maker button, to tying their shoes, to scrolling through their phones. Everything is automated. Automation is the enemy of high consciousness. So we need to become aware of what we do. It might mean that we do less, but what we do consciously. It improves your life quality to a great degree. It will eliminate things that you notice don't feel right, that you notice are not good for you. Eat consciously. Ask yourself, before you grab that snack, before you grab that whatever, why am I grabbing this right now? Do I need this? Am I hungry? Am I bored? Am I stressed out? When you are conscious, you can ask yourself these questions and you can make better choices. Most people aren't conscious. Okay. Avoid negative, energy sucking, and fear driven conversations. You become the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. We are extremely, and I mean extremely, selective with who we spend time with. I minimize my conversations with people that have these qualities. I'm not interested. I don't care. I walk on. You should do the same. Truly honor yourself. If people would honor themselves and honor you, they wouldn't be energy sucking vampires, but a lot of them are. Fear driven conversations. It's their fears, it's their traumas. Don't let them pull you down. You can easily sustain yourself and your well being through a few of these conversations. You cannot sustain yourself and your well being through constant interactions with such people. You become like them. It is true. You become like the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. Look at who you are surrounded by. Look at who you talk to most. Look at who you interact to most. And if it needs changing, change it. This is literally one of the most important things in your life. It's very blatant that the group of people that, when someone is in a financial poverty situation where they don't have money or very, very little, and they lack, and they spend a lot of time with others that lack, it's very hard for them to get out of that, especially when the conversations constantly revolve around that. So, but when you converse with people who have a healthy, a good financial life, who are doing well, then you start to level up just through being in their presence. You start getting more inspired, getting better ideas. It's the kind of thing that is true for all life situations, really important. Trust your intuition. Your intuition is not emotionally charged. You are. Your intuition is a neutral guiding system. It always works if you're tuned in. What does that mean? Your intuition will never scare the shit out of you. You might be scared. You might be emotionally charged from the past. You might have past traumas that are unhealed. Your intuition is not that. Your intuition is a neutral guiding system, neutral in the sense that it doesn't come emotionally charged. You charge it. So if your intuition tells you, you were planning on going somewhere, you were looking forward to it for 3 months, you bought the tickets, you have everything, you bought the new outfit, whatever, but your intuition tells you 2 hours before, it tells you don't go. All the scenarios you might play out in your head are yours. That's not your intuition. Your intuition just said don't go. If you feel that intuitively, trust that. Same with do certain things, call certain people. Sometimes our intuition comes in and it says, do this, do that. It is very clear. Our fears might keep us from it. Our experience might keep us from it, but the intuition is clear. The intuition itself does not have an emotional charge. Only we have it. So whatever comes after that intuitive thought, it's all us. It's not the intuition. Intuition is a perfect guidance system. It's only us that mess with it. It's a perfect guidance system. It works every time when we're tuned into it. Question strange new thoughts. Interesting, right? Because we just talked about intuition. Are they mine? Are they intuitive? Are they in sync with the highest good of all? So your intuition will never guide you to do something that isn't in your highest good and the highest good of all. People have reported, for example, in the year 2021, people have reported more than enough people to see that there was a pattern. They've received a thought. All of a sudden, they were absolutely sure of their course of action regarding the Beetlejuice, but then they received a strange thought in a strange situation that said, "Oh, go get it. Go with the group. Go get it." We've heard this story over and over and over again. I can guarantee you the way that these stories were presented, this was not intuition. This was an artificial thought stream injected into people. These things exist. These technologies exist. They've been around for much longer than we think, but they're now at a level of sophistication and subtlety so that it doesn't feel like you're getting a lightning bolt. It suddenly creeps in. So our awareness, our protection, our centeredness, our balance, our connection to spirit and intuition allow us to know the difference. Listen, inherently, we know the difference between real and fake, even if the fake is very good. Inherently, we know it. I can tell you this. If you are a producer, a designer of handbags, if that's what you do every day, if I don't know, Louis Vuitton or somebody, you do that every day for 10, 15, 20 years. And a fake comes your way. So someone who's faked your handbag, it does not matter how good the fake is. You can tell. You can tell because this is your area of expertise. So you need to become an expert in being you again. What are your thoughts? What is your intuition? What is your guidance? What is your feeling? What's the difference between intuition and gut feeling? Become an expert in being you, and nobody and nothing will ever be able to fool you. You will always recognize foreign influence. So this has been shown and was a huge problem for the MK Ultra crowd. So the people that did all the mind control experiments, programs, and whatnot, they knew and they saw that a certain group within the population wasn't susceptible. They were able to detect that kind of control and fight it off or withstand it or shield it. They always knew that that's a problem. So they kept refining, they kept fine tuning, kept improving the technology, kept doing all these things. But still, there is a group of us who feel the artificial inception. It's very, very important that we become experts in being us. That way, nobody can ever fool us. Okay. Here, this is, and you can tune out here. This is one of the most wonderful support systems. That's why we talk about it so much. But this is FLFE as a support system. If you don't want any of this, is totally fine. You don't need it to be able to do what I just said. Okay, so there's no requirement for that. This can't replace all the things that I just talked about. So that I want to make that clear. But it is a wonderful support system. So by creating a high consciousness field around a property or object, FLFE recreates the feeling and benefits of sacred places like Mount Shasta or Sedona or Stonehenge or Machu Picchu, providing you with an environment that supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual growth. Spending time in high consciousness fields positively affects the subscriber, those around them, and humanity as a whole by fostering healing, increasing inner peace, and accelerating spiritual growth. This is also, this is a quantum technology, non-invasive, for those who haven't heard, that creates such high consciousness fields. It's not AI, it's not some beam or some frequency, it's quantum entanglement. But the principle is the same as in sacred places. And there are many sacred places that people don't know are sacred places. You might be drawn to return to a certain tree or to a certain body of water or to a certain meadow or to a certain place in the woods, to a certain mountain. You might have experienced this, that it's just a place that you keep going back to. It could even be a road that for no particular reason, love to drive on. So chances are that these regions, areas, or places are high consciousness fields. So what happens in high consciousness fields? You feel much better. You have better intuition. You have better spiritual connection. You tend to get inspirational thoughts. You tend to experience even better well-being and healing on a physical level. Better, a joyous feeling. Sometimes people have more spiritual out-of-body experiences, gain greater insight, meditate easier. Those are things that occur in high consciousness fields. That's why people keep going to Mount Shasta. That's why people keep going to Sedona or keep going to Machu Picchu. There's a reason for that. And they've been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years because these places are high consciousness fields. So FLFE is similar. They create a similar field around your property with quantum entanglement. One of the most beneficial services in the world today. So here are some of the services that it provides: EMF mitigation, that what people experience on a service, reduced anxiety, improved sleep, harmonized relationships, better communication, greatly increased personal energy, deeper meditation, enhanced creativity, improved focus, immune system and GI tract support, clearing of historical negative energy is a big one, ongoing mitigation of geopathic stress and grounding support, support for clearing the negative history with others within the FLFE field. So these are things that we have experienced, Christine and I and our family personally, while being on the FLFE service. And mind you, all of these things, we were already at a pretty high level of before, but it has improved significantly since we were on the service. So you can do a free trial, no credit card, no nothing. And we put the link in the video description, and I'll put it here in a live chat for you. 15 days, no strings attached. You give it a try. I want to say this one more time. This is just a supportive service. This is not in replacement of the other things. The other things, the protocol that we talked about, I think is highly important, something that everyone can follow and feel that it creates a layer of well-being, a layer of confidence, a layer of protection, an energetic, higher state of being, a higher state of consciousness. Ultimately, we need to understand that the higher that our level of consciousness is, which all these things support that, the harder it gets for us to be manipulated through such events. Like I have said over many, many, many months now, just because something extraordinary happens doesn't mean that all of us will be affected by that in the same ways. For every bad and horrific period or suffering or extraordinary event in human history where the majority suffered, there was always a minority who thrived. Now, some, we might say, because they were part of planning it, yes, but a conscious minority, a spiritually more evolved minority that always thrived through these times because they knew about these things. They were conscious about their experience. I want to make clear that we are not helpless, we're not small, we're incredibly powerful. I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee that something will happen in the next days, because I can't. And I can't guarantee that if you follow these steps that your life will be wonderful. How could I guarantee that? These are all things we have done and used. We have personal experience. We've taught others to do it, and we see the effects, the positive effects that it has. That's all that it is. But we have to be responsible and open enough to tell you that there isn't a single person that is in this field and that does research with the intensity that we do that doesn't see the same thing. Some see it more on the surface, some see it in the depth, but everybody knows the oppositional forces are not exhausted yet. They're tired but not exhausted. But because they're tired, they might become more desperate, and they will do things that have a bigger and bigger and bigger impact. Every time that we can withstand and thrive through such events, we become so much stronger that it becomes almost impossible to do things to us. That is the entire goal. We have to know that we are energetic beings. We're infinite beings. And somebody asked me, "What is your evidence?" Um, how can I give you evidence for something that you haven't experienced personally? Everything I speak of when I speak of being an infinite being, having existed before and after this physical life, uh, is a knowing that comes from a field that is only accessible when you accept that you are a infinite being. So this is, the chicken or the egg question. No, I can't prove this to you. There's a lot of evidence in this realm that we can observe that points to that. But if you are a hardcore skeptic, you can always find a way out of that evidence, and I respect that. I know very little. I know very, very, very little. I do know that we're infinite beings having this experience here. That's what I claim to know. But I know very little beyond that. And I'm constantly willing to expand, to learn, to change when provided with new and more accurate information or intuition. So that all being said, I'm not afraid whatsoever. No one in our field is afraid, and none of the other researchers that I know, journalists, empaths, intuitives, forecasters, none of them are afraid. Aware but not afraid. Conscious but not afraid. Proactive but not afraid. Fear is crippling. Fear is paralyzing. It kills our creative spirit, our ability to think logically. It keeps us in the state that they want us in. When we transcend fear, we are uncontrollable. We are unmanageable. We're ungovernable. Unless we choose to, of course. This is what happens when we transcend fear. It's very powerful. So we will see what comes our way. My motto is to be equipped for anything. And meanwhile, help co-create more of what we want to see, more of what we want to experience. Help elevate eternal wisdom and knowledge that helps us. Be a shining light everywhere I go, even if I don't talk to people. But, hopefully, simply by being present, I leave a positive imprint. That's what we can do every day. Somebody said it so beautifully. It clicked for them. I think it was Charlotte. It clicked for her. She said, what does that mean? Becoming the best possible version of myself and do what you can with what you have where you are. Those things I keep repeating. It means that whatever you do it really, really well. And you do it with the best of intentions. And whomever you talk to, even if it's for a brief second, you do it with that spirit. So it's a striving for excellence in all that you are and do. And it elevates you, it elevates your spirit, it elevates your experience, but it also enhances the experience of everyone who gets in touch with you. Why would you be grumpy and pissed off and cynical if you can be authentic and truthful and spirited? And even if you do get angry, at least it's an authentic anger and not something from a grumpy old experience from 5 years ago. So this is what we can do. The more that we do it, the more authentic we become. Authenticity for human beings, or for us as spiritual beings having a human experience, means a very, very high level of consciousness. That's authenticity for us. A high level of consciousness is ultimately the end goal. It transcends everything else. It diffuses everything else, and everything else eventually ceases to exist. That doesn't match that. So this is for some woo-woo, for some very spiritual. For me, it's absolutely logical. You know, that's sort of knowledge I pull from deep within. That's how far back this goes. People have asked what I think this event will be. I don't know. Whether it's some version of Project Bluebeam, like I've said before, if I play devil's advocate here, which you have to do if you want to anticipate things, what would catch people's attention? Let me ask you this. If you hear today that, let's just use mainstream media narratives, the Russians have taken another city in Ukraine, is that gonna affect the entire world? Is everybody gonna get fully worked up about it? No, even if that were true, we're jaded like that. There's so much going on that the whole world wouldn't stop. Something happens in Israel or Palestine, you know, I'm sure that, like, we are empathetic, I'm sure that we would have a reaction, but it wouldn't be that big one. They're talking about bird flu all over the place, declaring states of emergencies. Does it do the trick? No. So that kind of gives you an idea what it would take that gets everyone's attention in an extremely short period of time. You know, just think about it. Think about what that could be. It would have to be something that the world hasn't seen before. It would have to be something that the world hasn't experienced before. Because only the novelty factor gets people so, so on board with something. 2020, because it was so well coordinated, because it was worldwide at the same time, that was the novelty factor. It was the coordinated, and even that didn't work as well as they thought it would. So this has to be bigger, stronger, newer, and more invasive. So those are the parameters. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's what logic dictates. So that can point you closer to what that might be. I don't really care what it is. I don't really care what it is. You'll recognize it by the mass hysteria. And you'll recognize it by, I think, streams of reactions that create a hype. And what do we know? Do not follow the hype. The hype equals the masses. The masses are always wrong. Without fail. The masses are always wrong. The masses are always wrong. So don't fall for the hype. Center yourself, whatever that may be. Maybe in 2 days, maybe in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, I don't know. But whatever that may be, center yourself, ground yourself, remember who you are. Stay in that strength. And I think we can sail through this. You know, face infinity without flinching. Throw yourself to the wind and you'll ride it. You know, that's to quote Max Egan, or was it Carlos Castaneda? I don't know. Or was it somebody else? But beautiful quotes anyways. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. You know we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be with you again very, very soon.
Are you looking for like-minded and like-hearted people to connect with? Then the Inspired Community on Locals is the right place for you. You can post, comment, share, and connect with others, and our shows there are completely uncensored and unfiltered. It's stuff we can't talk about here. It's such a great community, and there are zero trolls. We keep the subscription fees super low, so 19 cents per day. Keep the trolls away. Join us today at inspired.locals.com. We can't wait to see you there.